do we do with the chickens now that this is not working?
Well, this is another one of those situations where council had the opportunity to recognize what is actually going on and to figure out a way to regulate it and to make it safe. And that's why I was in favor of it. I'm not someone who knows anything about chickens, but I know that there is a lot of interest in it. And I'm always in favor of experimentation, of pilot projects, and above all, of keeping it safe. The situation we're in now is that I imagine that there will continue to be an illegal use. As always, we enforce our bylaws on a complaint basis, and we'll see what happens from there.
Does there need to be some breathing room to clear the air?
Well, I don't mind when council has discussions like this. Once every 5 years, we talk about this stuff. I can't imagine that 2 members of council will change their vote on this one. If they do, they'll have the opportunity to bring it back for a reconsideration whenever they want.
I know you will be discussing this afternoon, but the contemplation, the prayer, the question this morning, can you just elucidate what's going on in that?
I hate to pull back the curtain on what looks like council drama, but of course there wasn't very much drama this morning. The only way I could think of for council members to be able to express their point of view about this was for a challenge to the chair, and that was the suggestion that I had made. So unfortunately it was not as dramatic as most challenges to the chair, given that we knew it was coming. But we have to have this discussion. As mayor, I have to listen to the best legal advice I've got and to insulate the city against risk. One of the issues in the Saguenay case was that the town was accused of acting in bad faith because they were not listening to what they were hearing in legal decisions. So for me, it was important to make that risk. I've said before that I don't much like the Supreme Court decision, but it is the law of the land, and we have to abide by the law. So we'll have a debate this afternoon and hear from the city solicitor on her opinion on what we can do in order to abide by the law.
From what you've heard, does council have a leg to stand on in terms of retaining a sort of prayer?
I don't think so. I have made a number of suggestions as to what is a prayer. Does it have to have amen at the end? Does it have to have a reference to God in it? And apparently the Supreme Court ruling, which I still haven't read, is pretty clear. The court has actually thought through these various things and suggested that these are not good ideas. Now, could we start with a poem? Could we start with a Canaan song? I don't know, but we'll have that conversation this afternoon.
The report on vacancy.
Has the city ever received a complaint about the open prayer?
Excuse me. I can tell you that immediately after the Supreme Court decision, we received a number of communications in my office from people who said that they fully expected us to abide by that decision and they would launch a challenge if we didn't.
The report on vacancy review,
Yes.
Are you happy with that? Do you want more?
No, I'm pleased with going this way. Councillor Demong and Councillor Pincott, with my support, put this forward in a way to create more of a savings culture within the City of Calgary, something I've been working on for some time through my Transforming Government initiative. So I'm actually quite pleased that we're continuing to do this work, and we'll see how things play out going forward, but I think this is a good start.
There was 14 million or so that was found. What happens to that money?
We have to separate the capital and the operating piece on that. On the savings that were found in capital, and this is a good organizational hygiene for us, as projects come in under budget, as we remove the scope of projects, and most projects do come in on or under budget since I've been mayor, is to figure out how to reallocate those funds towards other capital. In many cases, they come from grant programs. They can only be spent, say, on transportation or on social infrastructure, but there are lots and lots of unfunded capital needs, so it's a good thing to be able to do that. As for the vacancies on the operating side, those will go into a new budget savings account, so half of the money can then stay in the department to use towards their own initiatives, and half of the money is returned centrally for council to decide what to do with.
Does the 8 million on capital make a real difference? Or?
Yeah, sure it does. It's not going to build you an interchange, but in cases where we need new signalization or we need maintenance on a roof, on an arena, that stuff can really make a difference to people. So yeah, it will.
On the issue of having quote-unquote data dumps on FOIA, FOIA requests, which maybe it was Collier Carpenter, directly said that would be, with regards to the media and the scoops they get. In your view, what are the benefits and drawbacks of such a thing?
I'm going to defer on that one until we get some information back from our fourth commissioner. I'll give you just some very sketchy stuff, which is I believe the data should be open and we should share it with people. but I also have some respect for the work that people do to find this information. So I think we have to balance those things. I think dumping data at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon in a huge form where no one can go through it is not particularly helpful to anyone. But I do think that if we have a Freedom of Information request, then the results of that request ought to be made public at some point.